Now, something that just kind of irritates me, that just kind of annoys me, is um, just how nitpicky so many social media based, YouTube based, supposed Christian ministries are. Whether that's, just about every single video that has ever been shared to me by someone, by like Service Christi or Pulpit and Pen, a lot of the ones as well that come from Wretched, which I wouldn't say as many, but definitely a decent amount of them that come from Wretched. They're just like picking at the nits of different people. Um, that I guess the best example that I can think of is a recent video I saw by Service Christi, where he's saying that he's just really kind of supposedly taking Matt Chandler, who's kind of a Protestant kind of darling, I guess, to task about the fact that he accepted a speaking engagement where there was going to be some supposed New Apostolic Reformation speakers. I think Bethel or Hillsong was going to be doing the worship for it, and just really pontificating about how he's backsliding and how he's leading other people into doctrinal error and all these things. It was like a 45-minute video on this. And it frustrates me that that's what we do. That is what people do so often. Let me insert a caveat there of that people slamming and blasting Lauren Daigle for not being clear and concise about homosexuality as sin is not this issue. That's different. As well as people blasting John Gray, who is probably not even a Christian anyway, for giving his wife a $200,000 Lamborghini after doing a massive collection at his church, who also just recently admitted that he's been sexually unfaithful to his wife. But that's not the same thing. That's a different thing. I'm not talking about doctrinal issues. I'm not talking about sin issues. I'm not talking about Ravi Zacharias taking the platform at a Mormon temple and leading them in worship. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about clearly ecumenical things like that. What I am talking about is specifically instances like that, of that David Platt is friends with Francis Chan, so David Platt is clearly a heretic because Francis Chan accepted a speaking engagement from Mike Bickle a couple of times. That's not the thing. What I am saying is that we as Christians, number one, need to be willing to give the benefit of the doubt towards other Christians. Yes, it's good to give advice and give wisdom towards, like, you know what, Francis Chan, I don't think it's a good idea for you to accept a speaking engagement from Mike Bickle. But you know what? I'm not going to go and burn my copy of Crazy Love or Erasing Hell because of the fact that he accepted that speaking engagement. Now, if he goes further down the line, like a Rob Bell, and starts saying that love wins, like, that's a whole nother thing. But it should be we should delay our judgment until absolutely necessary. Because the simple fact is, especially those of us on social media who are not personally affiliated with these people, we might have a view into what these people are doing, but we do not have a voice to instruct them, and we do not have a vote to rebuke or correct them. We don't have that authority. The people in their lives, whether that's Matt Chandler, David Platt, Francis Chan, whoever, the people that are in their lives to correct them, that have the authority to do so, are their family, especially their wives, their direct pastoral leadership, their eldership, the denominational heads that preside over them. Those are the people that have both the authority and the access to speak into them, into their lives, and say, this is not a good idea. This is not what you should do. This is unacceptable. But, or on another route of that, maybe that this is a object for church discipline or whatever. Those are the people that do that. We, on the outside, we can have comments, we can have thoughts and ideas about it, but we don't have the kind of thing of like, Matt Chandler is never going to see that video by Service Christie's. He's never going to see this video and be like, you know what? I need to check my heart on this thing. That's just not going to happen. Because especially when you have a high profile ministry, for every one video that comes on of him, like just block quotes or video quotes, excerpts from his sermons that are whatever, for every one of those, there's probably at least 10 to 20 other YouTube videos, Instagram shares and stuff of people calling him a heretic or an apostate or whatever. So it's just gonna get drowned out in the cacophony of other noise out in the universe. So I think really that's what it of, just recognize your place, give benefit of the doubt. Just because a speaker accepts one speaking engagement doesn't mean they're going to hell. Doesn't mean that they were apostate all along. Doesn't mean that. Because keep in mind, Jesus spoke in synagogues. None of us would accept a speaking engagement at a Jewish synagogue in Jamaica, Queens, New York. None of us would do that, but Jesus spoke in synagogues. He also spoke he was invited into the homes of tax collectors and sinners, all of which we would not go to we wouldn't go to their house. We wouldn't be willing to associate with those people, but Jesus did. Paul spoke in synagogues as well. He also spoke in the lecture hall of Tyrannus. He went to the Areopagus, places that were openly pagan. And yet, that's considered an example all the time of people who do street preaching, people who do, that have their church set up in theaters or that they rent the basement out of bars to put their churches in and whatever. Like that, the church has always lived in those kind of awkward spaces. Todd Friel, who does the open air preaching at the University of Georgia, places, or like, if the church never goes out into spaces like that, people who need to hear the gospel won't hear it. So, argument can be made, well, maybe he only accepted the speaking engagement because he wants the money. I would contend against that. I don't think that that's true, and I think that that's slanderous even to insinuate that without the necessary evidence to do so, which is sinful according to the Bible, as well as the gossip and all backbiting, these things that these YouTube-based ministries tend to kind of build their ministries off of. But we have to go out into those people. We have to go to the places where they are, because guess what? They're not coming here. No one seeks means that they're not going to come into our churches by accident and just suddenly hear the gospel. Someone has to bring them. In order for someone to bring them, they have to go to where those people are. In order for that person to go where those people are, they're going to have to get their feet dirty in some places that maybe you and I would not consider going. So, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I guess the primary takeaway from this video that I'm kind of trying to get at is that we need to not rush into judgment about anyone. We need to be willing to be charitable towards others, especially those who would who have a proven, trustworthy track record of faithful, godly ministry and discipleship, and that love their families and their wives and their children. So, I don't know. Agree or disagree, join the conversation, and I'll probably see you on Friday. Peace.